Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. I know, finally, I have done it. But you see the title of the video, you know what you're here for. Not what I normally upload, but it's not like I have any upload consistency anyway. I just wanted to talk about what I envisioned for the DC Rivals roster, that game that's never gonna happen because it would actually be good, and DC seems to be allergic to making good games right now. So, I am going to be telling you my ideal roster, from tank to DPS to support. And I'm just going to say this beforehand, it's not going to just be filled with Batman characters. That's what I've seen a lot of people do. I ain't one of those guys. But let's get into it. Starting us off in the tank section, we have the face of truth and justice. Our boy Superman is going to be a tank. The reason why he's a tank, he could have been a DPS, but it doesn't sit right with me, him being able to get one shot, right? So I feel like his skill set more fits, a tank. I think he would be, melee primarily. You'd have abilities that would be like, kind of like, how Thor has like the charge up his little hammer and then like thrust forward. That's what Superman does, but he kind of like flies forward with the double hands. He has like he activated a little power and he'd have like a laser beam for a little bit, like just a straight laser that you could use. Probably have ability where he could just use his ice breath to blow you back. Not freeze you, but blow you back. And it's somewhere between DPS and tank, right? That's what I think Superman should be. He should be a tanky guy, but he should also be able to pack a punch. He's a bit hard because his abilities are super specific, and I think the way you'd make his free flight work is it would be his super, and you just give him infinite laser beam, right? That's what I would do with Superman. Our second tank is another member of the DC Trinity. We got Wonder Woman. Now, I don't want her to have the sword or the shield. I want her to have the wrist bracelets that she uses to block things. She could probably charge up, store damage in them and then hit them together like she does in the movies to do a lot of damage. You have the lasso of truth to pull enemy towards you. Probably his tiara toss, she throws a little tiara and comes back to her. Somehow give her the spin. I don't care if it's a taunt or something. I want to do the classic Wonder Woman spin. I want her to be more classic Wonder Woman, not sword woman Wonder Woman. So basically she's more of a shield tank. She shields everything with her little wrist bracelets, and then she can deal back the damage. That's Wonder Woman. For her ult, probably something akin to Captain America's, where she gives the team extra heal and the such. That's Wonder Woman. She'd be super fun, I think, because in Marvel Rivals actually no female tanks. So I'm truly one for progressiveness. But yeah, Wonder Woman as tank is optimal here, I think. Next up, we have another member of the Justice League, the aquatic man himself, Aquaman. I wouldn't want him to just play like Namor. Aquaman uses his trident, he slaps you a bunch. Maybe he has an alt fire where he can throw it. What I would suggest is he would be able to put, instead of a tiny octopus, there's just a big squid tendril comes out of the ground, and if anybody comes too close to it, it smacks you away. It's more of an area denial tool than anything else, right? You can only have two of those up at a time, and you can damage them. They're not super hard to get, but instead of being they're meant to kill you, these things are more of pests or deny you the area denial. That's what area denial means. And for a super, instead of summoning a big whale to come jump on you, he would have like a big fish would come out of the ground and make a chomp like Venom. Something like that. Yeah, that's what I would do with Aquaman. Not a stupidly complicated character. I'd probably give him a move similar to Namor, where he flies up in the air and just takes damage, but with he doesn't fly. He just kind of stays there. Also, give him facial hair, and make him the cool version, one that everyone likes. That's what we want from the aquatic guy. Next up, we got Lobo, the big old bastard Lobo. Not I don't know if it's modern Lobo anymore. Probably not. The skinnier one. I want the big guy, Shotgun. He has a hook where instead of how Wonder Woman would pull you towards them into the team, Lobo would fly towards you when he hooked you. So the idea would be that he's like a dive tank, right? Big shotgun stuff. His ult is that he, something similar like Cloak and Dagger. Instead of it healing you, he just flies forward with a burst of his motorcycle. And then you could turn it and then shoot another direction. That's what Lobo does. Lobo's fucking awesome. Everyone loves Lobo. If you make a roster like this and you don't have Lobo under either tank or DPS, what are you doing? Everyone wants Lobo in this game. Next up, we got Cyborg. Cyborg would be somewhere in between, you know, like Superman here would be tank DPS. Cyborg's more tank support in a way. He has like a laser projectile as like a something like that for like a primary fire. He obviously has to have the boom tube. He either like kind of dashes forward like magic and teleports through it, or he could do something like Doctor Strange and actually create a portal. Either of those would work. Probably have some way of doing a debuff or something, because like it's Cyborg. There's something unique you could do with him. He's a robot man. There's always fun stuff you can do with that. Alt's probably just a big laser. Don't gotta reinvent the wheel with that. Also, make him look like he does in Teen Titans, the show, not Teen Titans Go, not in the comic. The blue, he looks super cool in that show, so just do that. Next up for tank, we do have our first Batman villain in Clayface. And Clayface is getting a bit of a push. He's getting his own movie. And I think it'd be super cool if you made Clayface kind of like, he would kind of just work like Reed Richards, except he's fully a tank. So he'd turn himself into a big wall that walks forward and takes damage. He could turn his hands into big hammers and hit ya. He could probably shoot out like clay stuff. Big massive clay is a lot you could work with, you know? You could do anything with that. So I'd be interested to see what they could do. Yeah, I don't really have an ult for him. Probably just big hammer smash time, you know, like Clayface does sometimes. He does love doing that. Maybe he could turn into a big wrecking ball with a face on it like he does in Arkham City. That shit was cool. So yeah, Clayface as our tank. Next up, Gorilla Grodd. He's a dive tank. He has ways of stunning you, and he can jump away. He jumps a bunch. That's Gorilla Grodd. It's not difficult. Next up we have Hawk Girl. Yep, Hawk Girl, not Hawkman. She would have a mace. She has like a little ways of dashing. I just thought it'd be fun to have Hawk someone in there, right? Now, like, again, a pretty blank canvas. You could give her like flight. It'd be funny to have like a tank that could fly, but she doesn't have a projectile or anything, so like it's only to get you into position. You gotta like jump down. I don't really want like a bunch of dive tanks. Because like in Marvel Rivals, you have like 2 dive tanks. I guess Cap technically counts as a dive tank. I guess that's what he's categorized as. I would categorize him as really bad personally, but like I guess he would technically be dive tank. So I guess he'd be doing that if like it was just Hawk Girl, Gorilla Grodd, Lobo. If those are the dive tanks, then yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. Just there's stuff you could do with Hawk Girl. I just thought it would be fun to have her on the roster. Also, she was like the last minute addition. I was trying to think of more people to put in, and like Hawk Girl was there because like I didn't want to just default to let's put Bane in the roster because like we don't need more Batman villains. We could get something cool. So Hawk Girl, figure out something for her. She could be cool. Next up, Larfleeze. Yeah, I'm not picking the obvious Green Lantern villain. No, I'm picking Larfleeze. If you don't know who Larfleeze is, he is the Orange Lantern, and the Orange Lanterns are the Greed Lanterns. Not green, greed. I'm gonna talk a little bit as we go along about like my idea for what the story of this thing would be. Larfleeze is the only Orange Lantern, and the way he works is, if I was gonna put him in the roster, I thought of making him a DPS, but I think it'd be fun. The concept of him being a guy who only works with himself, he has no way of helping his teammates. He's like purely like, he's not even like the strongest tank, he doesn't have a whole lot of health, but he does do a lot of damage. And he could get a lot of temporary health. He plays for himself. The rest of the team has to play around Larfleeze, right? That's the point of his character. He doesn't have a shield attack. He literally just defends himself. He has ways of defending himself. He has ways of sustaining himself. He is a selfish character, right? So you want to have the rest of the team literally have to play around him. He doesn't play around the rest of the team. You have to play around Larfleeze is the idea. Because like, I'd want to make him super strong. I wouldn't know how to do that. I'm not a game designer, but I'm sure you could do that, and that'd be a super fun way to incorporate what his character is into the gameplay. So yeah, Larfleeze, an interesting pick for Green Lantern villain, I think, because most people just go for Atrocitus. I think most people under the tank would have Atrocitus, but Larfleeze, the GOAT, baby. Next up is the DPS, and to start us off, the obvious pick, the Batman. Batman would work decently similarly to Moon Knight, where he has a primary fire choice of either doing just regular punches, or you could throw batarangs. Batman is like an infinite, possibilities kind of character. Like, he has so many gadgets. He could have a smoke bomb like the Punisher. He could have an actual proper batarang that comes back to him. Something fun like that. Something to do with any of his vehicles. You could have the Batmobile, the Batwing. And if you want to go like Arkham style, you could get like explosive gel, you could get like line launcher, like the Punisher has. You know, funnily enough, you could have some stuff that the Punisher does, like a couple of his things just do that. There's just so many things you do with Batman. Alt, probably just summon the Batmobile and destroy everything, but not kill, because the Batman does not kill. Next up is Harley Quinn. You know, honestly, she's become like a pretty big character, like by herself, that like I don't even really think that it's 100% to just call her a Batman villain, because she's her own character now. She hangs out with Poison Ivy, she hangs out with the Suicide Squad, but most people still know her as being the Joker's girlfriend, so it is still like a Batman character, but she could do a lot of stuff. She's super fun. You could do the dual guns Harley, you could do like shotgun Harley, you could do like with a bat or a hammer. I would choose personally hammer, and she would have like little traps that she could put. Just a spoiler, Joker's not on this roster. She could do a lot of what you'd assume Joker would do. For her ult, I'd want her to sick her hyenas on you, right? Like she could like, it's like Squirrel Stampede, except there's 2 hyenas that run at everyone and just like absolutely ravage them. That'd be fun. There's a lot of things you can do with Harley Quinn. Again, these characters are for the most part fairly, you know, malleable to any ideas you got, so that's what I think Harley Quinn would be. She's obviously going to be in it, but it really just depends on what you want to do with her. She could be a support, but I decided that DPS is the proper place for her, at least for me personally. I think that'd be the most fun. Next up, we got, of the Teen Titans, Beast Boy. Everyone would want Beast Boy. He never got into Injustice, so I think it's only proper to put him in this. Beast Boy can turn into animals. Maybe it's an ability of his to like, maybe not turn into a gorilla, because he usually turns into gorilla, but like, he obviously wanted to do something different than just Gorilla Grodd. He could probably fly as like a way of turning into a falcon, you know, a way of getting away from the fight. He's, again, really malleable. Just do whatever you want with him. You can turn into animals aplenty. He could do like a double jump where he turns into like, what's an animal that would be funny to double jump? Like a monkey. He could climb up walls, run with him for long enough. He turns into like a cheetah and starts running. And for an alt, maybe that's where he turns into the gorilla. Again, literally you can do anything with this character. You could go any number of ways with him. Alright, next up we got Raven of the Teen Titans. Make her play similarly to like a Scarlet Witch. And I know that her like auto aim is annoying as fuck, but it makes sense for her. You gotta turn her into a Raven for some of her attacks. She could cast spells. I would have her have an ability to turn free flight. Not like how Scarlet Witch can just turn invincible. I would have her just like, she could take free flight at times. She has a slow descent. Probably has some sort of gimmick, but like, it's just like a thing you gotta lock down. Maybe she has a way of like making it harder for the healers to heal you. Something like that. She could like, you know, hexes. She's a witch. You could do something fun. That probably isn't a fun thing to do. Like, I've taken away your ability to get healed now, and then you die and you just get mad at the game because Raven's bullshit. But, you know, I want to have Raven here because it's Raven. Everyone likes Raven, and she even made it into Multiverses. Everyone's favorite game, you know, so put her here. Next up, you got Lex Luthor. I think it's fairly obvious that he'd play a bit like Iron Man. Stay up high in the sky. Give him free flight. Give him like a line where he comments about how, you know, I can fly, but Superman cannot. Like something stupid like that, you know, like have him have a little banter with Superman at points, you know. It's real fun. I originally had him down as a tank, but I decided to make him DPS instead of Cyborg, and giving him free flight makes sense here. Like having a free flight character is always just a fun thing to have. Alt. Similar to what he does in Injustice 1, where like he has his satellite fire into his arms and he like throws a spirit bomb. Have him do that and then have him like yell, "Witness the might of Lex Luthor!" Something stupid like that. Something just fun. We want fun in this. Lex Luthor, DPS. Next up, we have The Flash. And specifically, Wally West's proper The Flash, before he died. That's the one I'd want. This game is gonna have some silly versions of characters, like how in Marvel Rivals we have a different version of Psylocke and of Iron Fist than what we would normally get and stuff. Here I have Wally West Flash, and it's a bit hard to think of how he would work. He runs around really fast, he punches super hard, but you'd give him like an ability where he can like, you know, spin his arms really fast and he can hit you with like a projectile and it pushes you back. I'd assume he has a double jump, he can run up walls. He has something similar to Black Panther where he just like dashes forward with a punch and it just hits you. He spins around like a top, right? That's one of his attacks he usually does. And then but for his ult, he'd run around in a circle, making a tornado that would ravage the place. And while the tornado's happening, you have the ability to just go attack people. If you actually got down to it and started properly making the game, I'm sure you could figure something out. It's the Flash. He has to be there. Next up is the world's deadliest assassin, Deathstroke, or Slade, whatever you want to use. An obvious shoo-in for this game. It was between him and Deadshot for me, and I like Deathstroke way more than Deadshot. So obviously he has his sword, but that's not his like main form of attack. He'd probably use either dual pistol or assault rifle. Honestly, I could see Deathstroke being your like Soldier 76 type character, like the Punisher, where he's like really easy to learn. He has like a sword attack, like a get off me tool. Probably a double jump, probably like a grappling hook to get you up to higher vantage points. And yeah, because like I think everyone would want to play that kind of character. So Deathstroke, you get like the simple moveset so that people can just play you. Next up we have the obvious shoo-in for I have a bow character in Green Arrow. Now allow me to clarify, this is going to be Domino Mask, funny man with a goatee Green Arrow, not edgy man from the show Arrow because they weren't allowed to make a Batman show. Obviously, you just make Green Arrow, you give him headshot abilities, make him really annoying just like Hawkeye is, you give him stupid boxing glove arrow, you give him funny freeze arrow, maybe he has an attack where he shoots a random type of arrow at the opponent. That'd be fun. Grappling hook arrow, fire arrow, lightning arrow, ice arrow, bomb arrow. My cat's gonna jump on me. Just arrow stuff. He's Green Arrow, come on, he just works like Hanzo or Hawkeye. It's fairly easy. Next up, we have Wonder Woman's main foe, Cheetah. She probably has a way of just running up walls, maybe a double jump. Her main thing is she like runs up to you and she's like relentless. I'd make her more similar to Wolverine than I would to a Black Panther, right? So it's like she gets on you and it's really hard to get her off. It's more of a thing of you have to keep your distance from her at all times, would be the idea. Oh, I forgot to talk about people's ults. Deathstroke, he has a ult that I don't know. I'll say alts if I think of them, I guess. But back to Cheetah, she just cheetahs around, you know? Fast, dangerous. You gotta have a Wonder Woman villain in there, at least one. And this is the one, you got Cheetah. Next up is Captain Boomerang. Another one of those characters which is like, yeah, they're like a villain, yeah? They're like a Flash villain, but you know, they're a Suicide Squad character now. Like, I don't really see Captain Boomerang be used as like a Flash villain anymore. You give him, like, funny boomerang attacks. Do not do what you did in Suicide Squad. Do not just give him a gun. He only throws boomerangs. They always come back. He has explodey boomerangs. He has boomerangs that trap you in goo boomerangs. He could throw a boomerang and then it explodes everywhere. I don't care. Just do something fun with Captain Boomerang that involves him using boomerangs. Next up, we have a character that could be a Free Flight character. It could not be. Starfire. Yeah, we're getting the Teen Titans in here. She obviously just throws like splash damage, laser beams, probably has just a straight laser attack. Maybe she gets stronger the closer she is to death, I don't know. Starfire would probably just have her eyes would glow, ult, and then she would just do one of those Dragon Ball Z attacks of make a big energy beam centered on your body that literally never works. So hopefully they make it be good here. But yeah, that's Starfire. Pretty self-explanatory, she just shoots lasers. Next up is Black Manta. He would have like harpoons that could pull you towards him. He has like a jetpack, he has missiles. He could be really fun. Like, I don't want him to be a Free Flight character. I think that he should be like a combination of like Bucky, but with like some of Iron Man's abilities, right? I mean, Bucky in the way if he has a harpoon attack. I guess that's basically the only thing he'd have in common with Bucky. No, he has the laser. He could do like funny things. He could have a Free Flight move, but like then he has to get out of it. Black Manta, what you'd expect. A character that has to be there. Next in the DPS category is one of the oddball picks. I had a couple of just characters that I was like, who are some weird characters I could put in here? And let's start off with my boy, the KG Beast. This man is huge. He's a big boy. I don't think he works as a tank, but what he does is he has like an arm, right? And the actual hand of this arm is missing, and instead there's a gun on there. Yeah, that's it. He's just a funny character. He has like the funniest name ever in comics. The KG Beast is crazy. Well, there's Arm Fall Off Boy and Matter Eater Lad, I suppose. So he has some stiff competition. Yeah, but the KG Beast, he was in Harley Quinn, but it's still a pretty obscure character. I think it'd be fun to put him in here. So he would probably have like a Gatling gun for a hand, and he would just like, maybe he could turn it into a shotgun. He has like all of his attacks he takes off his hand and puts on a new hand, right? I think that'd be fun, just something fun to do here. KG Beast, absolute monster. That's my guy. Next up in the DPS category, this is Katana. She's got your back. She could cut the enemies in half with one sword stroke, just like Mo and Lon. Yeah, it's Katana. She, unfortunately, was in the movie Suicide Squad, but she is probably just a good fit for this game, I would think. She has a sword that can cut you in half, just like Mo and Lon. No, because the sword traps the souls of her victims, it's like magic. She could, like, get health back on kill. Yeah, that sounds fun. Next up, another weird pick, Jonah Hex. He's a cowboy with a weird face, and he has a revolver. More spiritual bullshit. I just wanted a weird gun character that wasn't just Peacemaker, or Bloodsport, or Deadshot. This is a more fun character that I think people could, like, start to get behind. Something that Marvel Rivals did was it had, like, a few characters that, like, nobody really knows. Like, I know Marvel fans know who Cloak and Dagger is, but, like, one of my friends played this game, Marvel Rivals, and he was like, who is Cloak and Dagger? And he started playing them, and he liked them. He thought they were cool. You know, that's something that's really fun about these types of games, and that's what I'd want to do with a roster like this. You don't just put in, like, aw man, the Joker, aw man, fucking Bane, or Mr. Freeze, people that everyone already knows. You know, you put in new characters like Jonah Hex, where it's like, oh, who is this guy? I know Jonah Hex had a movie. I don't think the majority of people know nor care. He was played by Josh Brolin. He played Thanos. But I digress. Jonah Hex, he'd be fun to play. Just put him in there. Jonah Hex is a funny guy. Next up, this character was on a roster I made for if they made a Suicide Squad game, but good. But he was just put in Creature Commandos. So now he's, like, more prominent, and that's Dr. Phosphorus. Known for his iconic line of, "You killed my father." Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? Right? That guy's awesome. I love Dr. Phosphorus. And now that people know who he is, he's just kind of the shoo-in for Flame Guy. You have him do green flame powers, you have him do a lot of damage. Don't put in El Diablo, put in Dr. Phosphorus. What a funny name. And the final DPS, I was originally gonna have Black Canary on the roster, but I literally could not figure out what her moveset would be, right? Because she screams and she does karate. How do I turn that into a moveset? I'm sure I could, but I didn't feel like doing it. I felt like Huntress was a better character. And yes, I know she's connected to Batman, but, like, it's something it's really hard to get past, you know? Just Batman's really cool and has cool characters connected to him. Huntress is pretty awesome. She has a crossbow, she has, like, different little gadgets. Anything you don't give to Batman or Deathstroke, just give to her, you know? Huntress is, like, a lesser-known character, so it's fun to put her in. Like, I consider putting in Batgirl, but it's like, everyone knows who Batgirl is. Not many people know who Huntress is, like, in comparison to Batgirl, right? Like, the general public don't know who Huntress is. So I think that'd be fun to include someone like that. The last few characters were just, like, obscure-ish characters. And I think that's what you want to do with this kind of game. Now, finally, we have made our way to the support class. And starting us off is Robin, Tim Drake. Yeah, I bet you weren't expecting that. Tim is going to play like a in-between between a DPS and a support, right? He has ways of healing his teammates. He has like a healing batarang or something, right? He primarily just uses punches, right? So if he wants to damage the enemy, he has to get in, but like he has ways of healing his friends from the back, so you gotta balance how much you want to go in to fight and how much you want to stay back and heal. I think that'd be a fun little thing, and I think it'd be fun to have at least one of the Teen Titans be a support character. And with Robin, specifically Tim Drake's Robin being there, we have the whole roster of the Teen Titans, and I think that's pretty neat. So yeah, Robin, Tim Drake support. Next up we have Zatanna, who I obviously want to be in the game. There's a couple here. By couple I mean two. I'm just going to say the other one now. John Constantine. Both of these guys, I considered putting them in any of the categories. Constantine almost made it into the tank category, and I had Dr. Fate there, so I put Constantine down to support, but then I cut Dr. Fate, so I considered putting him back up to tank, but I just left Zatanna and Constantine both down in support. So both do different ways of healing you with magic. Don't know what that would be specifically. You could probably just think of ways that they would be different. They do different magical things. That's what I do with them. Next up is Captain Cold. He freezes you, and he uses healing ice to heal the enemy. He's like Luna Snow. Not too complicated. Next up, I would have Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific would have ways of buffing his friends, right? He would have ways of dealing damage with like little drones that he has. He has ways of blocking damage, probably, like slightly negating damage to your teammates, something like that. Mr. Terrific is slightly more obscure character, so I think it'd be cool to have him in there. He's gonna be in the new Superman movie, but I just mean like right this second. Not as many people know who Mr. Terrific is. So yeah, just make him support. Just fun time. Next up, we have Saint Walker, the Blue Lantern. Blue Lanterns heal people, and that's what he do here. He heals you with his Blue Lantern power. He could probably make little shields. Not too complicated. He's a Blue Lantern. And finally, the last support is another Batman villain. I'm sorry, it's Poison Ivy. But she's in the game just because I think it'd be fun to have interactions between her and Harley. Plant healing character's pretty obvious. Probably ways of stunning because she has like weird aroma things. So there's ways of doing that. Again, a pretty obvious pick, but there you go. Now you might be wondering about a couple of characters who were like probably shoo-ins for this roster. And that's where I start talking about what I think of for my little story that I'd make, right? So, obviously for Marvel Season 0, it just kind of was the basic story of like, oh, Doctor Doom and Doctor Doom 2099 are like fighting, causing the two timelines to converge. I'm not going to do that overarching plot, but every season's going to have a story, right? So like how the first season of Marvel Rivals is vampire stuff, and for some reason the Fantastic Four is here. I have created my own little concept for a Season 1 for what DC Rivals would have, and I call it The Terror from Space, or Terrors from Space is more likely here. So the story of this season would be that the Yellow Lanterns had been eradicated for years. Parallax had been defeated, but, it went into hiding in a Yellow Lantern, and eventually found its way to the person who embodied fear the most in Scarecrow. Scarecrow has a Yellow Lantern with the help of Parallax, starts trying to take over the galaxy with the most fearsome, terrifying thing from space he could possibly find in the form of Parasite. So that brings both Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter here to try and help out the heroes of Earth to try and stop Scarecrow from building a new Yellow Lantern army to fight against, to cause the world to be in fear and stuff. So here's how our list of new characters are going to go. Under the tank section, we have a new character of Parasite, which I think would be a super interesting character for tank because he would be your version of Diva. The idea of him would be that either one of two things. Either when he's around his teammates, he gets more power, or when he's around more enemies, he gets more power, right? And for every hit he does, he gets more health back, or he can even get charged really fast for his, abilities. He is encouraged to, get up to people and, really fight them to absorb their energy for different attacks, right? And when he gets, depowered, he gets, into a smaller form, and he has to, crawl and run away. And maybe he has, a little laser that, shoots out of his fingers, and he spits it out. Something fun like that. There always has to be a diva type in this game, and I think it'd be interesting if it was Parasite, So that's my idea for our new tank. We have two new DPSs. First one being Green Lantern. I have two choices for Green Lantern here. I have either Jessica Cruz, which is the one I would probably pick, because I think it'd be fun to have a female Green Lantern. I like her little eye tattoo. Or you could have more of a classic Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, famous for having his girlfriends shoved into a fridge. But yeah, either of those Green Lanterns, not the normal ones. Through the little lore things, we're going to find out that Parallax in this universe, the bug, originally did the same thing that it did in the original DC universe, where it turned Hal Jordan evil. That's the story here. You learn that through stuff Hal Jordan turned into Parallax, and then Parallax went off to be the bug after they killed Hal Jordan or whatever, and then Hal Jordan's the Spectre, he is in I believe that's his name, in the comics. So here we have a new Green Lantern, either Kyle Rayner or Jessica Cruz. So you can pick your favorite. I personally would pick Jessica Cruz. And, Green Lantern does the Green Lantern thing, right? Makes constructs, probably of guns, because that's what Green Lantern usually does. Big hands that push you and punch. The more interesting one here is Scarecrow as a Yellow Lantern. He would have a big scythe that he uses for his primary attacks, and the way I'd have him work is he has two forms, right? he has a regular where he has like regular cooldown attacks. He uses fear toxin, those like fear toxin bombs and stuff that kind of causes debuffs. He doesn't do as much damage. And then you'd have like I believe it's a shift ability. I use controller, so I'd call it an R1. But like that would turn, he'd grab the battery lantern, right? And he'd smash his ring against it, and it would give him the actual yellow lantern uniform. And then his scythe, instead of being a regular scythe, would turn to like a construct scythe. And he'd start dealing more damage at the cost of not being able to debuff the enemies anymore. And it would only happen for a limited amount of time, right? And he would deal tons of extra damage for anyone he debuffed, so you'd want to activate that at certain times. As for an alt, I think that like out of his body would start like enveloping him like a yellow aura, and it would turn him into Parallax, and he'd start running around and just start chomping and like slashing at things, just a big threat. This is like a weird pick because I don't think many people would think to do this, but I think it'd be fun to have like a different version of a character, right? Because like people have wondered, at least I used to, like, oh, what would happen if the Scarecrow got Yellow Lantern ring? And like that's happened in the comics before, but like making him a bigger deal as a Yellow Lantern I think would be fun, and tying that to the story would be interesting. Seeing something that's not normally a big deal be the main villain of the story and you can play as him, I think that'd be super cool. So yeah, Yellow Lantern Scarecrow. Finally, as a support, we have the Martian Manhunter. He could have stretchy arms, that's like a thing he does, but like he throws like healing orbs or something, like in Injustice how he had like the weird orb thing. You could just have him throw those and they heal people. And like maybe he could electrocute people, I don't know. It's Martian Manhunter, you can find out things to do. He can't really phase through objects, unfortunately. That would be incredibly funny to figure out how to make work, but like, God, that would probably be like a nightmare to code. And with that, that's the roster. I hope you enjoyed the video. You agree, disagree with some of the picks I've made, go ahead and comment it below. What would your list of characters be? I made sure to do the exact amount of characters. So it was 33 for base roster, and then 37 for including the 4 that came with the first season. So that's what I decided to do. If you want to hear me talk more about this concept, then I can. I thought about different maps that I would do, different game modes that would be included, more of the story and lore that would come with it, but like I'd have to know that people actually want to hear that shit. If they don't want to hear it, then I'm not gonna make it. So that's me talking about this stupid concept for like 45 minutes. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you subscribe, like the video, and put the bell on for notifications, obviously. Have a very good day, evening, morning, or whatever it is, the time that you're watching this at. Farewell.